This is BNN, the Bloviation Nation Network.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Dullards Club bonus tracks, or more accurately, material from the wrong side of the bonus tracks. These are clips that we tried to get rid of during the course of season 1, but the company that we contract with for trash removal just wouldn't take them. It was something about hazardous material or something like that.
So we're making this lame attempt at recycling. If you see something you think you saw in an earlier episode, it's probably because these are the takes that either didn't quite fit in a particular show, or we watched them later and said, we can do better. We thought we could. These are known in the business as podcast offs.
Now, this compilation, it could be part of a bloopers and outtakes reel, but it turns out most of those ended up in the show. So what you're going to see is, well, we're really not sure what you're going to see, but it might look something like a Dullards Club meeting in Bizarro World.
So strap yourselves in and join us as we take one last look back at the Dullards Club for Men and Women, Season 1.
We're back with Circling the Drain. This is the part of the show where we just throw a couple of things out there and see how long it takes for them to get down the drain.
Hold on. I'm choking. We can keep that another bit.
It's going to be part of our bloopers and outtakes episode.
Yeah. How'd your shot go? I had mine this morning. Yours yesterday, right? The COVID?
Yes. Oh, I did. Yeah. It was amazingly smooth.
Every one of mine had been amazingly smooth. You said, drink a lot of water afterward and all day, and just be aware you might feel crappy the next day or so. So far,
maybe that's where I had the problem. I didn't listen the way I should when they gave me the instructions. They just said drink a lot after, and I woke up this morning feeling terrible. There's a lot of small businesses.
Yep.
And there's everyone's always trying to start something up. And there was a plumbing truck that I saw when I was walking down the street, and it on the side of the truck it said, "We heard the turds." So you don't have to. I was just trying to imagine what that brainstorming session must have been like when they were saying, "Okay, what?"
Sure, a focus group.
We need a slogan here. I'm sure this happened in a bar. If that was the winner in the slogan contest.
Well, that's the sad part.
What else could they have gone with?
I did the proverbial double take watching the morning news today. They were advertising a thing to prevent dust mites and things, a sonic little thing you plug in the wall. It was also for ticks. Can you think of the name of the company that prevents ticks that would cause a double take?
No tick.
Well, you're on the right track. Tickless.
Oh, Tickless.
I thought it was a Saturday Night Live spoof commercial. Did he just say Dickless? No, it's Tickless. And you got to be careful when you're promoting that.
What do you think ever happened to, like, the Octomom?
Oh,
remember the Octomom?
I remember the story. My first instinct is, who cares?
It bothers me when I don't know what's going on with the 600-pound sisters.
Please tell me that's not really a show.
My 600-pound life. You have to be 600 pounds to get on the show.
You're not serious,
no. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Pimple Popper. So it's on the same channel. I think it's called the Learning Channel, and I don't know what we're learning from this channel.
Yeah, we're learning what not to watch, hopefully.
Or you had mentioned when you were driving down the road and a pickup truck made a turn without using a turn signal.
No, the surprise, Pat, was when I saw one that did.
Oh, they did use a turn signal. Yeah,
yes, that was the surprise. I'd make myself a little bet. We're coming up to a turn. Is this asshole going to turn? Is he going to put a signal on? Nope, I win that bet. I would be a rich man if I could bet somebody who would take the bet.
Whoever anointed Mikey as the spokesperson for breakfast cereal?
Oh, boy, huh?
What is Life cereal anyway? And why did Mikey like it? They're just like rice or wheat checks or something like that.
Exactly.
And of course, no kid in the world. They taste like cardboard without it. So what they did is they added a magical ingredient.
Sugar!
That's right. And suddenly, Mikey likes it. And then, what are we going to call this? Sugar checks? No, we'll go with Life. So now it's Life cereal. And suddenly, when I eat it now, I think I'm being healthy. It's really a testament to the effectiveness of Madison Avenue advertising.
Yeah,
Because
Darren Stevens, man, doing his thing.
Darren Stevens. I thought it was the guys from Mad Men, but they all worked for the same agency, I think.
The question is, which Darren? Was it Dick York or Dick Sargent?
Right. And that was the most magical thing about the whole show, was the fact that
There's Madison Avenue for you.
And never said a word about it. That was the great thing. And and she's a witch, and yet she's not picking up on the fact that she got a totally different husband.
You had mentioned Sky Mall.
Oh, remember the Sky Mall?
Well known for having some whimsical and weird products, an $1,800 unicycle, a glow-in-the-dark toilet seat, and a vacuum cleaner to catch flies, just to name a few. I don't think it exists as Sky Mall. Certainly not the magazine.
No, not at all. I mean, there was that toilet seat you mentioned. Is that the one that collected the flies? Or is that... I was reading where couples are now charging guests to attend their weddings.
Well, it's sort of always been that way. They just call it the wedding gift.
I don't believe that this is part of the gift.
This is separate.
This is just a ticket for, say, up to $450 per person to attend the wedding. They want this experience, this event, to be a dream wedding. And for me, that's a very expensive dream. I'm just going to send them an air fryer and be done with it.
Amazon was having a big sale on anvils. And there were plenty of comments about the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, but all I could think was the poor delivery guys that got to deliver an 80-pound anvil. Free shipping. Bezos is going to be sorry he made that agreement.
But I think that's a great idea for porch pirates. Then we could follow up and find out who the porch pirates are by
Who's signing in for a hernia treatment? Yeah.
Calling every chiropractor in town.
This episode has been brought to you by Barstool Politics, because who doesn't want some loudmouth on a bar stool telling you about how government's supposed to work? And also brought to you by DraftKings, the window and door insulation team that'll save you money and heating costs, so you have more to lose when you bet on stuff. We started talking about some sayings and things that didn't make any sense.
Throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's my classic. I mean, I don't understand where that would have started from. It must have some roots in maybe 17th century Ireland or someplace where they throw the bathwater out along with the other things they throw out onto the street. And every once in a while, I suppose maybe there's a baby that gets identified or something that looks like a baby.
Bathwater they were throwing out those windows, Pat.
How about crying over spilt milk?
And that's not unique. I mean, that's pretty logical, pretty straightforward. You're crying over spilt milk. Putting all your eggs in one basket. Is that baby out with the bathwater? That's a separate one.
That's true. I mean, if you're going to cry over something, it might be the baby that you find, in the gutter, who was inadvertently tossed out.
Well, he probably spilled some milk.
Yeah, exactly. And once the baby does that, we get rid of him. I've got one more for you. Has a cat got your tongue?
Oh. God, that's just troubling to think about.
It is troubling. That's exactly where I'd put it too.
Well, except that they're prone to play around with anything sticking out, aren't they?
Well, that's true, and yet we've had cats for a number of years, and never has one gotten my tongue or even come close to my tongue.
Here's one for you: deaf as a haddock. My father, I remember growing up, said, "Oh, he's deaf as a haddock," and I never questioned it.
Thinking it's going to be a fisherman, because you know how when you go out fishing, people want you to be quiet, but apparently the haddock
they don't care.
That's not an issue. They'll swim right up. They'll jump into the boat. They don't care because they can't hear you. Most other fish, they're just sharp as a tack and not.
That's another one. Sharp as a tack makes sense. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's the one phrase that does make sense. Sharp as a tack.
Last week, I talked to you about this woman had created a deodorant product called Lumi, but I heard there was a men's version of it. It's called Mando. But I think with all the talk about the new movie Gladiator 2, I would have thought they'd come up with something maybe that had more mileage that they could maybe glom onto that. Something like Odious Maximus.
You're old enough to remember. You'd go into a supermarket and there were chest freezers full of every kind of frozen concentrated juice you could imagine.
Sure.
No longer. Now, I asked somebody where I was at the store, I said, where do you concentrated juices? They're right there. She pointed to a part of the chest, a freezer chest, maybe 1.5 feet wide. Orange juice, limeade, and a couple of Bacardi cocktail frozen concentrates.
Nice.
That was it. What makes these things just sort of go out of favor?
Much work.
I was reminded just how ridiculous some of the instructions that the crew gives when you are getting ready to take off. For example, the instructions that you're supposed to breathe normally if the oxygen masks are released from over your
that'll
seat.
happen.
Now, in the history of passenger flight, not one person has ever breathed normally when the oxygen masks drop.
No.
And for that matter, I don't even know what would be normal. Let's say, for example, that you're on a flight and you're flying on a, I don't know, for the sake of argument, let's just call it like a 737 MAX.
Yeah, let's say that.
That's
Okay.
just, I mean, just, at random, we'll pick one out. And the door flies off at about 20,000 feet. Of course, the oxygen masks are going to drop, but they're not going to drop straight down. They're going to be flying along
They're
with
going to be out the window, out the door.
with half the people in the plane. Now, I know that the conventional wisdom would be to breathe normally.
Well, normally, when the door flies off, you'd be breathing pretty heavily. So that becomes normal.
23andMe, the DNA store. I understand that they're in the process of going under, and there's a big hubbub or whatever about what's going to happen to whatever the DNA is that they've collected and theoretically is sitting in a jar somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if in fact they go under, what happens to all that DNA? And if you've given your DNA to 23andMe and they destroy the DNA, what does that make you?
A troglodyte?
Do you no longer have DNA? I don't get it.
It's up to the highest bidder. I'm afraid that may be the case. And what they're going to do with that is even more troubling.
Yeah, they'll make an army of automatons.
Kids are not being taught cursive in school, so they don't know how to sign their name. You're getting a loan for school, for college, for a car, for whatever. Don't you have to sign your name?
Sometimes wonder if that actually qualifies as cursive. It's more like your personal scribble. At least I know that my signature
curse like
is
hell
that.
when I write it.
Well, I was looking at over the weekend an article in the New York Times about the best flatware, the best knife, best fork. Somehow they rated the best spoon, and I was wondering what was the test for that? They go to like this local senior center and give them each spoons and see whose soup is done first.
I am constantly trying to avoid the paparazzi. It never ends. Even, and people asking for autographs. I mean, I was at a restaurant the other night, and somebody put a little piece of paper in front of me and said, sign it. And I got up and walked out. And like 3 people came after me and said, you have to sign this and put the tip on it. And I don't know. It was,
the Democratic side seemed to start a little bit slow, hedged back, and then got stronger as the evening went. What?
I want to see which hand came up when I raised my right hand.
Well, there you have it. Another example of lethargic indifference that tests the limits of tedium and sets a new standard for sameness and banality. We hope you've had a little laugh or maybe even just cracked a smile along the way.
And as we mentioned in the opening to the show, There are a lot of nominally exciting and otherwise routine things planned for the Dullards Club next season. Here's an example. It's our nominated Dullard promotion. Now, the details will be on our website shortly, but in a nutshell, if you know someone who's not but should be a member of the Dullards Club, we'll show you how to nominate them. There's so much more coming, and we don't want to spoil the surprise. So this is as good a time as any, I suppose, to wrap it up. Just remember that regardless of what anyone says, we appreciate your time. We test your patience and always, always, always question your judgment.
We'll see you in a few weeks.
Stay dull, everyone.